into the first draft here between these two teams and seeing the bans coming up. There's going to be the Zephys and the Superman ban, but that does allow for Crash to be the first pick on the side of MeetYourMakers, following through for Serial Killers as they pick up the Thane and Zennial. So far we can see fairly meta picks coming up from both teams, as well as what MeetYourMakers are hovering so far for their next picks.
Yep, I mean Praetor and Malak. We didn't see a lot of Praetor except for today. Praetor in general, really good burst, really good zoning potential with the A especially. But of course, in the laning phase, you are, in general, mages are not really prioritized anymore in the meta because, like Riku said earlier on, a lot of players really want to go for those very, very mobile pickups, like that of, say, Murad. Murad is really good in the early game for the poke, stack up for your ultimate, go in with your ult, come back out, and it's really just so really difficult to touch you. And then, of course, you have Joker, one of those players like the one from Netta's Vanguard, Clash P, if I'm not wrong, plays Joker really, really well. So I'm excited to see how Serial Killers would actually pull that off and kill Groth. And that is one.
Dragon is one of their weaknesses in
yes.
securing their punishes. And they do have one punish this time. It's going to be on the Murad. But interestingly enough, Shiny X actually has a Disrupt in his kit. So this means this actually equals to, okay, we're gonna dive you, okay, we're probably gonna siege, we're gonna clear the waves, then dive, and then try to get a pick. So I feel like that's one of their strategies coming into this game, knowing that they picked up, instead of having an additional heal on their side, they decided to just opt for a Disrupt on their kit.
Yep, I mean, Disrupt is not all that bad. Usually you'd see like a heal, just for that extra heal, extra sustain for your team. And on top of that as well, I don't know, I mean, for a Crash to actually have Disrupt, I personally think that there may be just other talents that just more applicable, if at all, because firstly and most ultimately, when you use a Metamorphosis, you just get such a huge health barrier. I don't personally think that it's really neither that Disrupt at all. And one thing's for sure, we are seeing a rather unusual placement of heroes coming out from MeetYourMakers, with a mage being placed in that bot lane and that together alongside a Crash. So we all know the mage do not have the best DPS, but looking and talking about DPS, Sigfrid might be going down here to kill Groth, giving Kilgroth that first blood. Momokun comes in to try to aid the friend, but I don't think that is the position you want to be in. The turret is a tad too far away, but one more basic attack will not connect. Momokun gets away scot-free. So perfection on this Kilgroth. So giving, like I mentioned earlier on, Kilgroth has got a very good early game. If you let him snowball, in the late game, he's just so difficult to deal with.
Exactly. So much sustain, a lot of life steals going around. And if you consider the fact that 4 of the heroes are sort of practically maybe melee, perhaps, especially if Shaikan dives, the maximum output of what Kilgroth could get in a team fight is just going to be very, very scary, especially coming into the mid phases of the game when they have these 5v5 clashes. But then again, it's all about positioning as well. I'm pretty sure the game plan for Serial Killers is to try to poke it out as well. They do have the Joker on their side, but Preda as well has the poke potential. So if they did this little dance by the riverside, Sashwat could easily just try to gain control and scare them away via poke, which is what he's doing right now. And I do get the logic of putting the Preda bot side just so that they could maximize or gain control of that riverside near the Abyssal Dragon, and Lindis would just easily try to land those traps to provide vision and make sure that her lane is safe.
Yep, it does make sense. However, Shaikan, in a very dangerous position, will be taken down once again by a very well-placed Metamorphosis, and on top of that as well, the Kilgroth just goes in with that sustain and basic damage. So, really good calm coming through from the side of MeetYourMakers. And this is what I'm worrying about. For Serial Killers, they are, and we've known them to be just really good in that early game, but if they are already struggling now, it will be very, very tough for them to actually, move on into the mid, much less close out the games.
I do agree with you there. I mean, we've seen like maybe 4 of their matches, or rather 2 of their matches that are similar to that thing where early game is their strength, late game they're going to be having a hard time closing it out, even though they have a very significant lead. So it's a little bit worrisome to actually witness this, as well as not being able to potentially maximize the level 4 spike of a Murad. Normally, you would see already an aggressive play coming from the Murad. I will stack it either on the spiders and then attack mid lane, but we weren't able to witness that at all, mainly because Lindis was found somewhere else. And that is the power of the Lindis. You could actually try and help out with the roams, try to help out and scout, and your lane is practically safe because of the traps and the vision and the utility provided in Lindis's kit. So we'll have to see if the Spirit Sentinel will be contested here.
Yep, I mean, it will be contested, but Perfection will easily just secure that. But Peanut now in a very uncomfortable position. Perfection will go in, basic attacks after next, and now just putting out so much hurt without taking much damage whatsoever. But they will back up because the side of Serial Killers will be retreating back into that turret. I'm really liking the Praetor plays in the bot lane. However, like earlier on, I was mentioning of how worried I was because there's not a marksman that's in the bot lane, but instead it's a mage, whereas Praetor should be in the mid lane, etc., etc. But thinking about the comp that's coming out from the side of MeetYourMakers, if you think about it, Raz is just so very mobile in that mid lane and can easily poke Praetor out if not careful, right? So Praetor being in that bot lane, able to just poke out Joker and Thane, and then in the mid lane, Lindis can easily clear and rotate around. So that is very, very valuable coming through from the side of MeetYourMakers. So I'm really liking how they are placing the heroes right now. Talking about that as well, they are all 4 members going to be placed around this Abyssal Dragon. It might just be contested. Joker, Thane, everyone basically is that. Murad goes in and will be getting out. Peanut goes very low and Joker manages to steal, but now Peanut gets in the thick of fights. Momokun comes through with that ultimate. Will he be able to save anyone? And that is not the case. Shashwat with a first kill, and now they are diving into turret. I know you're Crash, I know you're tanky, but it's not enough whatsoever in this early part of the game. And Shaikan just going in with those punches and uppercut. May not pick up another kill, but it will be Momokun taking down Shaika.
Interesting that Siegfried never activated his temporal turbulence despite reaching 4 stacks. And during the initial clash, 4 stacks didn't happen at all, so it was during the skirmish was when he gathered, but then he immediately fell down through that battle and was not able to maximize and probably deal a lot of damage during that fight. He was only there for the kit, for the utility, and Abyssal Dragon was on the side of Serial Killers nonetheless, and they still did a good job at least trying to equalize everything. But then again, I really love the fact, going back to what you said here, Luxuria, MeetYourMakers, in terms of placing out key heroes, I am a huge fan of this because knowing that you have an opposition, knowing that you have a Murad on the opposite side is just going to put Preda in a very safer spot, and Lindis is not going to be very open to ganks because of the vision they provide, but top side is going to fall soon as Momokun is super low.
Yep, you are talking about gank, and there you have it. Kilgron going in for that gank alongside that of Lindis. Just so much damage coming out from this duo. Like I was mentioning earlier on, Kilgroth and Crash, generally a very, very strong, duo because of the amount of sustain, just how durable they are in general. But we didn't see that earlier on in that team fight, and partly and really it's just because of how much tower shots that the Metamorphosis side Crash took. Murad goes in with an ultimate like you were mentioning earlier on, but I don't think that is quite the target that you want to go for. A rotation's coming through, and they'll be going into the bot side because the Abyssal Dragon is up.
Yeah, a lot of pressure in the bot side as well. I think one of the the plays that serial killers could potentially take advantage of is, they have the Sentinel for their side. They could catch them off guard during these times. But Malok, Meet Your Makers are always anticipating this sort of move. And every time they try to make the 4v5 plays, it doesn't happen because they are already, ahead of the game. But look at that. Mirrored goes in, but we'll see a pause either way.
Yep, we'll see a pause either way. Temporal turbulence is just too OP. Goes in for it and then bam, pause. But anyways, so what is happening right now? It's that Meet Your Makers, right? They secure kills for themselves. But the problem with them securing kills is that they do not translate those kills into objectives, which is very, very important when you actually think about that. This is what serial killers do, right? They get an objective already to try to steal an objective, they go for the kills, and then they push in forward to try to get another objective, and that's how they get an early game lead. Looking now at the gold lead, initially Meet Your Makers had a 15k something lead, and then serial killers only had a 13,000, and now it has just been softened, and in fact serial killer has the just a tiny bit of lead, but this says a lot for the gameplay coming through from the side of serial killers.
Yeah, serial killers definitely is doing a good job equalizing everything as well. I believe the Abyssal Dragon take had a really huge factor in contributing to this sort of equalization. But looking at Meet Your Makers though, they are proactively going around the map, finding picks here and there, and it was the tower is about to go down.
Yep, tower goes down as with shock as well. Shaika on that Malak goes in, tries to find a team fight, tries to find for one, but they will all ultimately just back off. Abyssal Dragon will now be the target, oblivious to the side of serial killers, or there is just no contest whatsoever. And then once again, Killgross securing everything from kills to objectives.
Yeah, they're doing this slowly and surely, and this is how you actively play a Lindis as well as the rest of the compositions. You do have the Preda at the bot side of the map just trying to shove down the wave so that no dive could happen. And then this time Metamorphosis doesn't hit anyone.
Yep, it doesn't hit anybody, but I don't think that would be the point, because they really just want to dive in for the backline for Joker, but Joker just able to get away. Shiny picking up one kill, and now the side of Meet Your Makers gave up one as well. So Perfection goes down, as well as Shiny, Siegfried on that on serial killers do go down, but it would not be much of an issue whatsoever. The side of serial killers do have the number advantage. They can try to go in for an objective or two, but at this point, with Abyssal Dragon already taken and not much of a tower to push, maybe Raz can try to go in for the mid.
Yeah, perhaps, but Raz is going bot side, perhaps trying to find a pick, which is the Lindis. It's a very squishy target, and yes, they do. And this is quite unexpected. And one of the plays that they could potentially get in their composition is that to find all these mid rotations, or rather catching out members that are rotating, and you catch them off guard, and it worked out in their favor. And Shikar was not able to use the shock. It was cancelled. Great job by Shaikan. GGWP Serial Killers is doing it.
Shika, Shaikan, these names. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but Shika, Shaikan, it is just confusing. Just now I thought the Raz was Shaikan. Okay, never mind me. But anyways, Praetor actually rotating back up into the mid lane, trying to hold this mid turret. Shaikan doing very well for himself on that Raz. Although did not secure a lot of kills for himself, but at least he managed to take down that Lindis, able to open some sort of way for his team to just move around more freely. And that is one thing, in the lane itself, Lindis is generally very, very safe, right? Because she farms and then she bugs off afterwards. Whereas if you're actually rotating into the mid lane, you actually risk getting basically getting ganked by someone. And Shiny now talking about ganked, it's in the midst of fight, uses Metamorphosis, has that health barrier like I was talking about earlier on, but it will not be enough whatsoever. Crash will be the first to go down in this team fight, and now Murad picking up one kill for himself, and Perfection going into a 2v4. Can Perfection actually do this? Or Momokun will go down first? Peanut tries to go in with that charge, send the enemies away, helping Momokun to just escape. Peanut surviving for a really long time. Shiken comes in with the uppercut, tries to save the team, and a charge as well. But I don't think this is the fight that you're looking for, because a lot of members will be going down. Momokun may be the one surviving, but that is about the team fight.
That was so prolonged. It's like serial killers already had gotten what they wanted, but they were just so greedy and wanted for more. They could have just tried to disengage. MeetYourMakers did a good job in punishing that play, but this could be punished as well. Temporal turbulence just to try it out, but Siegfried has no punish online, and no steals are gonna happen there.
Yep, no steals, and this is the thing. I mean, if you're talking about steals, I'll never expect serial killer to steal anything. You know? I mean, they may be able to kill like they may be able to kill like cereals or popcorn or what was the team yesterday? Pancakes, was it? Potatoes. There you go. They might be able to kill all of these, but I don't think MeetYourMakers will allow them to to milk them. If at all. So Dark Slayer taken by the side of MeetYourMakers, but they're not quite using the buff just there. They are playing relatively passive. They are looking for an opening, but maybe when I'm saying that, Shiny may just jump in with a Metamorphosis.
Yeah, they're playing safely for now, maybe shoving the waves. I mean, they're the type of team that really likes to translate kills into objectives or dive and maximize that disrupt talent, but Peanut might be in a little bit trouble here.
Yep, shot goes in, and that is the kill for Lindis. A pretty quick one. Tortoise tries to go in with that killing joke, but would not quite hit anybody. And this may just be the fight. Murat caught in a very uncomfortable position. Perfection going in, taking a lot of damage. Metamorphosis, oh sorry, it is not Metamorphosis, but the Hell Barrier from Shiny's jump getting used, but and now, once again, Dark Slayer's buff not quite using, to its max effectiveness. Yes, they may have gotten that Abyssal Dragon, but that is about what they will get with the Dark Slayer buff.
Definitely, they try to find a dive somewhere, but the lanes are shoved quite far from the towers, and that's the reason why MeetYourMakers wasn't able to utilize their Dark Slayer buff as well. Serial killers also know that it's quite dangerous to take on a fight against a fully Dark Slayer buff team, so they played it very, very safely and decided to just wait it out before they could make a move. But again, MeetYourMakers has a lot of map pressure going around and has a lot of control as well. They do have the utilities to do so. They do have that Lindis for themselves, and I feel like Serial Killers has the potential to win a team fight. It's just that they have to prioritize the correct targets and perhaps not be poked out by the Preda.
Ooh, Shiken taking a lot of damage, and this is the bane of Raz, but now Peanut in the thick of fights. If you're a Thane, I know you are, but can you even survive through all 5 members' damage though? Peanut, you may just, the Metamorphosis is coming through in a very good time, and there you go, Peanut goes down, and now the side of MeetYourMakers really trying to force the side of Serial Killers to meet their makers. Murat tries to go in, tries to pick someone out, but that will not be the case, and the first high ground tower is taken down, and now MeetYourMakers tries to go in for the call and even trying to add out the game, man. Good game, well played.
Wow, squishy core is squishy. That was very interesting from MeetYourMakers. I really love how they played the game out. Super safe, super confident in their rotations. And I'm really, really looking forward for more games from MeetYourMakers.
We will see just what they're going to decide to do going into draft number 2. And we do have the first bands already coming through. Superman, once again, it's a no-brainer, but the Zephys being prioritized out. This opens up the crash for Instalock coming in from Serial Killers, no question about it. Now, any response picks we might see here is going to be the Zenio and Praetor, perhaps. Still very good picks. As we mentioned, the initial first match draft or first game draft was also very well balanced overall in teams, and it is hard to pick apart what they could have done better, because I think both teams have this part of the game sorted, and it just came down to who got that lead coming into the mid game.
Yep, I'm really liking this Malak and the Quickneck pickup. Quickneck, we saw Serial Killers played, or rather other teams played, and if you can actually rotate and try to starve out counter jungle that of MeetYourMakers, then you'll definitely have the level advantage. And on top of that as well, you have a very, very powerful ultimate, a slow, a dive, a chase for yourself. So as long as Serial Killers can play to their win conditions, which means that they will need to play for the early game and then worry about the late game afterwards when it comes, then the side of Serial Killers have a very robust comp. I'm not sitting all too well with that Ras once again, because we saw how Ras was in the previous game. You go in a little too deep and bam, you're just out.
Imagine those two heroes jumping on the Joker. He would just immediately be deleted. So he has to be careful of his positioning and probably not reveal himself right away when a clash happens, because I'm very sure that he's going to be hunted down, especially during the later phases of the game.
Yeah, but we saw as well, very, very good Jokers generally able to just keep the distance and be able to poke from afar. That is basically what his kit does, right? So he has the killing joke, can basically dish out a lot of damage from afar, and now we do see the Vision Bird. Is there an actual name for the Vision Bird? Because I don't feel well,
The Vision Bird. I think it's something around the seagull. I don't know.
Seagull, and you know what? Scratch that. I'll go with the Vision Bird. I think Vision Bird sounds much better than something that goes like, it sounds like a crow. But anyways, back to this game. So as we were talking about, Quickneck, very good early game. If you know how to fully utilize it, you have your level 4, you have your ultimate, you have your chase, you have your slow. So this is a very good time for this Quickneck to just start roaming and try to secure a kill or two to just open up, space for the team. And this is what I'm talking about, because Perfection goes very, very low, forced to run away, and the first blood manages go, and there you go. First blood goes over to Quickneck, and that is one of the plays that Serial Killers, they are known for, the early game aggression. And they are just very good at that for a very good reason, right? Because it works for them.
Exactly, and it's not like MeetYourMakers has a lumber to help aid in terms of disengaging and stuff like that. They don't have that. So if ever Serial Killers tries to dive, they really will be solely reliant on the Sentinel in terms of sustain and trying to save and trying to peel for their squad, for their team. So Sentinel was the first one to go down, and Serial Killers is definitely rewarded for that. Be very, very worried when the Quickneck reaches level 4. He's just gonna try and hunt and try to see what he could do with that spike. And in terms of Roman potential and fast rotations rather for the Quickneck and hunting for kills, you really have to be wary. And he is spotted out, but topside, there's some action.
Yep, topside action, and Shiny once again will be going down. Very good rotations coming out from Ras. From Shaikan on that Ras, and now they have the Q advantage for the side of Serial Killer. They can easily transition that into the Abyssal Dragon, but that is not the case. Quickneck is just now coming into the Abyssal Dragon pit and will be contesting for this. Thane tries to go in as well as the crash, and Peanut on the crash able to secure the Abyssal Dragon for his team, and MeetYourMakers winning out the team fight. But MeetYourMakers, can they actually go for this tortoise, or will this be a great bait? But I doubt it, because they are going ham, and Chipmunk will be able to pick up the kill for MeetYourMakers, giving them a 3 kills to 2 advantage.
If they want this, they really could push down bot side super quickly. That's a Thane already, as well as with the Joker. So perhaps if they don't finish it in time, they might suffer the consequences from the Quickneck and the Crash. But because I feel like they have already a good amount of damage, they could just skedaddle out. Take note, Flicker has already been used, so they really have to run away if Joker doesn't want to die from this one.
Yep, and that is one thing. So the bot turret now is down. So Joker, just excellent at pushing turret. Obviously not as good as we saw the Fennec at pushing turrets, right? I mean, we saw a game yesterday, I think it was XD, that actually pulled the Fennec out, and he was just a monster on that little fox. But coming back into this game itself, we are seeing Chipmunk actually trying to go in for the gank, trying to rotate down, but will not be able to find anything whatsoever. So with this, in that trade out just now, so we saw MeetYourMakers picking out 3 kills for themselves, but with that gave away the Abyssal Dragon. Do you think it's actually worth it because they actually scored a turret for themselves? We saw a similar scenario earlier on, not earlier on, but when Alex and I, iRequest and I, we were practicing casting for AOV in one of the bots, and then I actually claimed that Abyssal Dragon take is actually much more worth it than a turret take. What's your take on that?
I feel like it depends on the game because you're already on the lead, but hold on. There's gonna be a fight. Metamorphosis already being used as well as the Sentinel ult. Everybody just dive in here. Thane ult being used as well, and they're keeping their distance here. MeetYourMakers. They don't want to dive in too deep as Kilgroth gets just gets eliminated there, and a lot of members as well as Joker. The heal is being procced as well. Cricknack super low at this point, and Momokun actually uses the shop just to try and secure the kill on towards the Thane, and they are rewarded, and looks like they're gonna be backing away.
Yep, so that was a very good team fight coming out from MeetYourMakers. I understand their game plan. So what they really want to do is just try to dive, pick up a kill, and possibly the turret, but it just didn't work well for them because of the very fast rotation coming out from serial killers. So back to the question on hand. Riku, what do you think? Do you think the turret is much more worth it, or do you think the Abyssal Dragon is much more worth it?
I feel like depending on where the turret, I suppose, bottom lane, if you take bottom side, that would just mean you have more control over the Abyssal Dragon in the upcoming times and the next Abyssal Dragon, so that gives you more space if you take the bottom side as well. If you take the top side, on the other hand, it's just gonna create more space in terms of 4v5 potential. So if it's just the Abyssal Dragon and if it's not too much of a lead, I feel like towers are very important because space in the long run is just gonna really mess up the dynamics of your enemy squad. They're gonna be forced to defend the pressure from wherever lane that they're supposed to defend, and which means they have to walk. If it's not going to be a Sentinel, more points for you guys because they're forced to walk back and forth and travel across the map just so that they could keep up with the pressure.
Yep, MeetYourMakers now trying once again to go for that Abyssal Dragon under the nose of serial killers. So serial killers basically maybe busy having their breakfast and thus not quite sniffing that out at all. So MeetYourMakers having the first Abyssal Dragon, kind of evening out that gold lead, and in fact actually have one up on that gold lead. Shiny goes in for a 1v2, but it will not be for long because Perfection is just lurking in that river side, and now in that mid lane as well, a lot of pressure coming out from Chipmunk as well as Joker and Shashwat. They are going to try to pick up this mid-tier, tier 1 turret. Let's see if they can actually do it because Perfection diving in, jumping in, Chipmunk using the ultimate really for Nod, and we do see now Peanut actually has Metamorphosis up. So if the side of MeetYourMakers really willing to dive, then Metamorphosis can be used to gain the stun against the wall closest to the turret.
Yeah, that's their game plan, and it all depends if MeetYourMakers is gonna give that sort of position and advantage to serial killers. The best part about MeetYourMakers is that obviously they also play a crushed composition, and that would mean they are very aware of the strengths of what serial killers could do against their composition, and that's why they're not giving any opportunities whatsoever. They're just waiting it out just so that they're very sure whenever they come into these engages. Definitely the mid lane tower is their priority. Kilgrath actually enters the fight here.
Ooh, Perfection goes in, try to find something, maybe Peanut or Shaiken, probably Shaiken, but not quite putting out the damage needed to take any of them down. And now Forsaken on that Joker tries, or rather is in the mid lane, trying to put on pressure as well as Shashwat on that Praetor. Poke coming through, it is just an exchange of poke right now, but as I'm saying that, Siegfried actually going in deep, trying to pick up Shashwat on that Praetor. Can he actually find something, that little bug, or will he be dove upon? And there you go. Shaiken goes in immediately for the Joker. Forsaken, getting Forsaken by his team, and will be going down relatively quickly. And now, with the man advantage, the side of MeetYourMakers can easily just push down this mid-tier turret. Peanut goes in, as well as Shiny and Chipmunk. Shock being used by Malak. Not quite hitting anyone, not quite connecting, but the mid-tier 1 turret will fall.
Shaiken with the awesome Raz plays, but because Joker is out, it still really didn't didn't threaten Meet Your Makers. They still pushed on with their mid lane push, and it's only because a lot of serial killers were already quite low. So this was the opportunity for Meet Your Makers to keep pushing on with their lead, and that's why they're so confident. Gold lead is still not as far of a gap between these two teams, but in terms of map pressure, obviously Meet Your Makers is just getting everything. And if you look at the map, a lot of the first year turrets on Meet Your Makers are not damaged at all, and it's most likely because of how constantly they've been shoving the waves and creating pressure, plus the wave clear of a Preda is just one of those things that's really hard to deal with versus Raz in the mid lane. So it's just a lot of space to work with. If you have a lot of space, then this means that Meet Your Makers could just constantly roam, and this is the thing that we've been discussing before. If you take down the turrets, you have more space for the Abyssal Dragon. It just enables you to take more as the game progresses.
Yep, I have to agree with you on that, and it's just so difficult because we see Shaikan on that Raz. Yes, you may say he's impressive, but the issue with the Raz is that you can only hit 1 minion at a time, unless, of course, if you have Boomstick, then, you know, there's an AoE, a small AoE effect. But at the end of it all, Shashwat on that Praiser obviously can clear lane much faster. And talking about clearing lane, we are seeing all the red dots moving around individually, trying their best to just distract, you know, the side of serial killers from Meet Your Makers taking the Dark Slayer. And now a full-blown team fight will be happening, and Shashwat picking up that of Ras immediately. Peanut with a return kill onto perfection, and now Shashwat very low, may just have to back off, but now Peanut will get chased down, I think, or maybe not. Forsaken coming in from downtown, and not downtown, but maybe from the north side at least, trying to find something. Momokun as well. I don't think you really want to be there. This is the high ground tower that's being exposed right now, and if Meet Your Makers can play this right, it might just end like the previous game.
Exactly. They're very clean at this point. Preda was just forced to back away because he's so low at the earlier. But all of the members from Serial Killers are back online, so we'll have to see if they're going to be very aggressive or just play defense. Toy's so low, forced to back away and retreat instead. But because of the Dark Slayer buff, it's just really risky to just try and enter the fight and make something happen.
Yep, making something happen would be Shiny on that Zenio, trying to goes in for a 1v1 against a Crickneck, and this is how far they are. Chingmang obviously comes in with the KS, but obviously if you need to secure kills, that has to be done. And now all 5 members of Meet Your Makers, they have the clear advantage right now. They might just dive this high ground tower and go in for the team fight, and this is what they'll do. Tortoise first to go down, and now Prates are just putting on so much damage. Perfection with the turret push, and now this will be how it ends. It's similar to the previous game that we saw, basically a one-time push into that core, and that is 2 games under the name of Meet Your Makers.
Wow, Meet Your Makers might be my second favorite team in this tournament. The way that they move is just so confident. They have their eyes on the prize. They're just really they know how to trade objectives. They know how to create a lot of pressure on the map, and their draft as well is